What's up YouTube, Capital G here, breaking down the other three monsters from Link Frames 2 because you guys saw the other video. I really don't need much of a setup, so let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. The first one is actually a Bls Link Monster, which is really cool. If you guys remember, I did think that this was a possibility because Konami on the Japanese website, they hosted a poll with a whole bunch of archetypes. The winner of the poll was actually going to get future support. I personally voted for BLS, and I guess I got what I wanted, a BLS Link Monster. It's really cool. This is Blackluster Soldier, the Chaos Warrior. It's an Earth Warrior monster, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, the ritual forms of BLS are actually Earth attribute, and then the Envoy forms are actually Light. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me. This is a Link 3. It's 3,000 attack. It's got the decode link points, bottom left, bottom right, top towards your opponent. It requires 3 different names for the summoner, 3 monsters with different names, so I think that that's easy enough, honestly. Really, I thought about any deck that runs Scapegoat can probably summon this. Effect number 1, if this card was summoned using a level 7 or higher monster, it cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That is really good. Those are 2 very good levels of protection. Effect number 2, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects. You can either have this card gain 1500 attack, this card can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn, or you can banish one card on the field. This card is quite incredible in my opinion. I actually think that this is the best monster that has been revealed from this set so far, and it's interesting because I actually fear that this card could become generic and maybe even replace something like Decode Talker. Number 1, 3,000 attack for a Link 3 is fucking insane. That is incredibly good. Number 2, the attack gain of 1500 is permanent. That is, you get to keep that until this card basically dies. Number 3, that banish effect, which is amazing, is also non-targeting. That is so good. Non-targeting removal is just amazing in Yu-Gi-Oh! We know this. And if you can get the protection from effect number 1, where you're basically a Magispector at that point, this card can become incredibly difficult to kill. I think that my main criticism of this card is the fact that I'm not really sure that it helps BLS that much. I feel like this is just a generic Link 3 that's going to appear everywhere. I mean, the fact that you have a Link 3 that has 3,000 attack and non-targeting removal, that's fucking insane. So yeah, this card's going to show up everywhere in my opinion. Next up is a Thunder Dragon Link Monster, which is just like, wow, man. I mean, Thunder Dragons just came out in the OCG and Soul Fusion like a half second ago. We got them over the weekend in the TCG. That tells me that Konami is basically saying, we really want you guys to play Thunder Dragons if they're giving them a Link Monster this quickly. This is Thunder Dragon Goliath. It's a light thunder monster, Link 4, 2800 attack. It points to the left, to the right, to the bottom, and then to the bottom right. And the first effect is a hard once per turn. It says, if this card is Link summoned, you can target one of your Thunder Dragon monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Apply that target's effect that activates by discarding itself from the hand, then place it on the top or bottom of your deck. Effect number 2, if a thunder monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 3 cards from your graveyard instead. Okay, so protection for itself and protection for other Thunder Dragons is really good, especially from battle. I think that that would also activate the monster's effects in the graveyard. So effect number 2, obviously good. Effect number 1 is really good as well because you basically get to use your graveyard or your banish pile as a toolbox in that case, because something like Avian Thunder Dragon, that one has Monster Reborn kind of built into it. It can also summon Thunder Dragons from Banish. You could target that, you could activate that Monster Reborn type effect, then you could put it on top of your deck and basically use it during your next turn. Something like Bestial Thunder Dragon will be another card to copy. This one is kind of like a warrior returning alive from your graveyard or from your Banish pile. I think that this card is really good. Like, both effects seem good. My real question with this is, are Thunder Dragons going to be able to summon Link 4 reliably? Because anytime I've ever seen them summon like a Link 4, it's always been Bls War Dragon, but that's for like a push for game. Can they just casually summon Link 4s when they're not trying to like kill their opponent that turn? That's my real question about this card, but the effects on it are really good. Then our last Link Monster is actually a Parshaft Link Monster, which is really interesting because never really thought of Parshaft as an archetype, but you know, they got synchros and other stuff like that, so I guess it makes sense. The Celestial Night Lord Parshaft, it's a light fairy. Link 3, 2400 attack, bottom left, bottom right, and then straight bottom. 2+ fairy monsters to summon. It says you can use the first and the second effects each as hard once per turn. Effect number 1, you can discard one card, add 1 Sanctuary of the Sky, or one card that specifically lists the Sanctuary of the Sky in its text from your deck to your hand. If the Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field, you can add one fairy monster instead. Okay, it's pretty good. Effect number 2, if a face-up fairy you control, or fairies, is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can banish one fairy from your graveyard. That is the cost. Special summon one fairy with a higher level than the banished monster from your hand. Okay, so there's a lot with this card. First off, let's talk about the summoning conditions. It's really interesting because although I don't think you'll actually link summon this card in counter fairies, I don't think you could actually just give up 3 monsters. You will technically run this in counter fairies because you can summon this card from reincarnating Parshaft for free. That's obviously kind of nice. I do think that, like, it's interesting because it revolves around Sanctuary of the Sky, but again, I don't think that, like, counter fairies can inherently summon this outside of that counter trap. I really think where you should probably play this card is Agents, because, you know, opening Venus is obviously the nuts. Venus is 4 monsters on field. Venus would instantly let you go into this. I think being able to get to Sanctuary of the Sky is pretty cool. If you can search any fairy, like if you already had Sanctuary of the Sky active, being able to get to something like Archsword Christia or Honest is really cool, because if you dumped all those fairy monsters into the graveyard, being able to drop a Christia just like locks your opponent out of the game potentially. Also, this card can search, I think it can search Divine Punishment. It can search a couple of cards like Sanctuary of Parshaft, so that's pretty good as well. I believe you can also search the, no, you can't actually search Reincarnating. You can search Sanctuary of Parshaft and you can search Divine Punishment, so those are good targets. Now, when it comes to the second effect, this effect I actually think could be pretty useful for continuing the link summon. Like if you wanted to get rid of a Shine Ball, then you could, like, I don't know, summon a Christia from your hand by banishing that Shine Ball. I think that that could be pretty good. But all in all, I think it's a pretty good card. I think that it's better suited for Agents specifically because Venus goes into it instantly if you've got all your Shine Balls. I think that counter fairies will ironically run it because, you know, reincarnating Parshaft is a free copy of it on field and you don't have to give up any link material. It's an interesting card, and what do you guys think? Leave it in the comment section below. Also, let me know what other archetypes you feel like are going to be in this pack and what are you hoping for. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos and check out these other videos I know you'll enjoy.